Hello, this is Tracy and welcome back to my channel, Artful Creations by Tracy. Today is my second installment of Throwback Thursday technique. Today we are going to cover chalking and color blocking. Now if you're a scrapbooker, you may already be familiar with color blocking as that was a very popular technique back then. However, I am going to show you just how easy it is to do for card making as well. You want to start out with your scraps, and I'm sure many of us have plenty of those. So pick out some solids as well as some patterns for a theme that you want to create. You can start with a white card base to get started or one of your solid backgrounds, whatever works for you. Next, you want to just pick up your scrap papers and see how they're going to fit onto your base with very little alteration if possible. You will have to make some adjustments. What you want to do is decide what colors you're going to use and how you want them on your card to make the most of your background. Once you have a piece in place, everything else will start to fall together. No pun intended. Anyhow, let's, then of course, once you have your patterns or your solids together, throw in a pattern and make it break it up a bit, and then you have a card front that is complete. So here I am just marking off some pieces so that they fit perfectly, and look at that, we are done with card number 1. Moving on to the next card, again choosing what colors you want to start with and then just working with those sizes that you have. Now for this one, I found this long piece of pattern paper that I really liked, and I'm going to work around that. So I thought it would be perfect for the middle of my card, and then I found that long piece of orangish yellow paper that fit next to it perfectly, and all I needed to do was get one more piece and we have a card already. As you know, I really don't like to measure. So in this case, I'm just going to use my pencil and basically mark off the areas that I want to cut on my papers. I find this to be very easy to do for almost any of my techniques. Color blocking being very, very easy to make that, to do this with. And one of the benefits to doing color blocking is to, number one, use up those scraps that you have, which means less waste. Now, I don't know about you, but I do hang on to large pieces of scrap paper, and sometimes even smaller ones if it's pattern paper and I really like it. So now here we go. We have card base number 2 complete. All right, time to do a little chalking. And what I have here is Pebbles brand classic chalk. I also have the metallic cream chalks, and I really wanted to use those as I have never used them before. But they are creamy and that protective acetate is sticking to them. So let's go ahead and use that classic chalk anyway. Now, they all come with this tool. It's an alligator clip on the end along with 3 different size cotton balls. I'm going to start with that yellow and chalk the ends of my yellow paper, which is a textured paper. And I really want to make sure that I get that chalk down in there. It will be very subtle, but I will show you that you can see the chalking by showing you the piece without the chalk. And there it is. Can you see that? Okay, on to our next piece. I am going to use brown. I pretty much default to brown for a lot of my distressing, so it seems only natural that I would go for that in chalking as well. And because this is also textured paper, I will use my fingers and rub that chalk into the fibers to give it a little bit more depth. I find you really only need to do that when your paper has some texture, just to really embed that chalk. And on the pattern paper that I'm going to use, that actually is kind of a glittery texture it has on it. And then one of the ends, as I was looking at it, has a few ridges from when I tore it off the paper pad. Now, long before the Tim Holtz Distress tool came around, us old school crafters, yeah, we used to use a nail file to file down those edges, and to also help giving those pieces of paper a little bit more distressed look to it. So, yeah, nail files. Now, it has been several years since I actually used chalk, and when they came out with distress inks, I think all the chalks got thrown to the curb. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually love distress ink and chalk, but I tend to default to this distress ink now. The chalks are really great, and the difference, in my opinion, is that they're just a little more subtle to your papers. I happen to have, or I've had chalks in my stash for a very long time, and these chalks might still be available because I did pick up the metallic cream and some pearlescent ones on Amazon. I'll check those out and see if they're still available, and if they are, I will go ahead and drop a link down below for you. I really hope that this Throwback Thursday technique series is helping you, and if you do have chalks in your stash, that you will bring them out and use them again, or for the first time. I also hope that you will give color blocking a try, because it's really quite a super easy technique. And back to the chalks really quick, I forgot to mention that you might even come across chalks from a secondhand store or be given a set of chalks from a friend. They really still are useful, and they do not go bad. All right, now that we have all that talking out of the way, let's go ahead and assemble our card fronts. And since I decided to do these on white card base, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to chalk the edges as well, because I like that distressed look, if you haven't figured that out by now. Now, just think of anywhere you would use distress inks, you can use chalk. Again, I'm going to say way back when, we used to do a lot of paper piecing. Hint, hint, that's going to be a Throwback Thursday someday. Chalking was a major part for creating the shadows and highlights that many of us are doing today with alcohol markers. Since I'm a little ahead of myself, I want to tell you that this is actually my second video I recorded, because for some reason, when I went back to check on my first video, it was gone, disappeared. I have no idea what happened to it. So I then was like, okay, I have to do this all over. And as I was finishing up this video, I had noticed that there was a message that popped up that said, out of storage. Ugh. Has that ever happened to you? Well, I then had to delete a few videos, and then I found the first video was actually there. I have no idea where it went or why it came back. So I decided to just use this video because the first video actually did get cut off towards the end. And instead of having only 4 cards to show you, now you will have 6 cards to see. While the phone was rebooting, because of course when you delete and then it doesn't just, storage doesn't just pop up, you have to reset the phone and wait for all the electronics to pop back into place and align with the stars and all that fun stuff. I decided that I was going to go ahead and open up those metallic cream chalks because I really, really wanted to use those, and I decided that I'm going to use those on my inserts for my cards. Now, after all the chalking is complete, I'm going to mount these onto my card bases, which brings me to another point. These card bases have been cut and scored for many years. I was extremely proactive way back when and cut up a ton of colored cardstock and prepared them for my card making, and I still have quite a few. So it was a good fit for here for today. Now, my card bases are, because they're all colored, I'm going to use a 4" by 5 1/4" insert and that creamy metallic chalk. It is called chalk, although I don't know why it's called chalk, but it's a creamy chalk. And they're very pearlescent. I thought these were perfect for adding this into each card base for your sentiment, and they look perfect. So now you have 6 cards. Yes, I have 6 cards. 6 cards ready to go that I can use for any kind of whatever I need, basically. Obviously, it's important to, well, not really obvious, but it's nice to have the solid bases to put a stamp to sentiment. And there you have it, my 6 cards. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe and share my channel. We will see you next Thursday for a new Throwback Thursday technique. Have a blessed day.